Hi, welcome to week 5 of the program seminar for the Master of Arts in Ministry at Grace Bible College. Let's take a look at your learning activities this week. I'm looking at on my screen the link to the learning activities. And so if you want to follow along, that's what you would need to see. The first one is a biblical view of culture outline. Now, this is asking you to try and think about the whole Bible. That's a difficult task, but it's asking you to think about the whole Bible under 4 categories: creation, fall, redemption, and consummation. In I think it was week 1, I posted a Christian worldview item where I used 4 similar categories. I used creation, fall, redemption, and then new creation. I've never cared for the term consummation. I like new creation better, but it's the same idea. It comes from the same group of thinkers that gave us this outline for a Christian worldview. And using those 4 categories, you're to make a list of bullet points of observations, 5 observations under each category: 5 under creation, 5 under fall, 5 under redemption, 5 under consummation or new creation. On the biblical view of culture, and you're supposed to support your findings with specific Bible references, so you have to cite the Bible in this, and some thoughts from Christian thinkers on culture as well. And you've got a couple links to the Colson Center, Probe Ministries, the Acton Institute, and get a quote for each of the 4 topics. A good quote about creation, a good quote about the fall, about redemption, consummation. So this is all about culture. Now, then we need to be thinking about what do we mean by culture. And one of the common definitions of culture is the way of life of a people. It's the way people live. It's the way people think. It's the way people go about their lives. And so cultures have dominant values. They have practices. They have symbols. They have language. They have religion. And humans form cultures. Anytime a group of humans get together and stay together for any length of time, they form a culture. So you could be making observations in a lot of directions in this, and I will try to be very open-minded in my thinking. But as you write your bullet points, you're supposed to make 5 observations. An observation could be anywhere from 1 sentence to a brief paragraph. It's stretching the idea of a bullet point to put it out to a page. Obviously, this could be a book-length piece. There's a lot of book-length pieces on this. This is to give you a rough outline to start thinking about culture. But make sure your thoughts are clear. Right? Please do, even though they're bullet points, write in full sentences. This could get very hard for me to follow when I'm looking at it. But I want to see that you're thinking about culture. I think we're all Americans in this class, maybe specifically American culture. Where do we see God's creation persisting in the culture? Where do we see the fall being having its way, breaking culture? Where do we see redemption, and how does redemption apply to culture? And where is culture going in the end, in new creation? This is actually a challenging assignment, even though it's not necessarily all that long. You notice there's no word minimum. Just give me 20 observations with biblical support, a Christian thinker's support, and a quote that sums it up. So that's your first task. Then your second one is your discussion board. And here you have to pick as it were, a culture subset of culture. Politics, education, entertainment, technology, or sports. Then you're to review online articles. Notice it says reputable scholarly or journalistic source. We want these articles to have some substance. Journalistic isn't necessarily a scholarly source. I mean, you can go to ProQuest; those will get you the scholarly ones. But if you're doing a journalistic source, look for a more serious journalistic website, a New York Times, or National Public Radio does some in-depth pieces. Something that's going to look at it with some substance, not people, not entertainment magazines, and not blogs that have an axe to grind. But do some reading, and in your initial discussion post, explain what you found, what kind of trends are going on, why is it important for Christians to be aware of and engaged in culture, and what could Christian culture making look like in the area you've researched. I'll be honest with you, I think sports would be the hardest one to do well here, but it's up to you. You just pick one and write about the area you want to write about in terms of what's going on in that area of culture and how Christians could make culture in that area. Since you're looking up these sources, okay, it's a discussion board, but if you're getting information from a source, you still need to cite it. So use a parenthetical citation like APA. You can use a standard APA parenthetical, but then for a reference list, just put links at the end of your article. Put references and then give us a link for each of the ones you are citing. Send me an email if that's not clear. Then you've got your analysis paper on art. Okay, I have to confess to you, I'm not an artistic kind of person. This is not my area. And so as you get to that part of the paper where it asks you to critique a painting and find technical terms and use them, I want you to follow those instructions, but I'm not going to be able to evaluate how well you use them. I just need to see that you tried. And I hate to say that on a graduate paper. To me, that's like a middle school kind of assignment. But I'm just not enough of an art critic to talk about technical terms. But I do think I can evaluate your critical thinking about art. So this is a paper. It should be in full APA format. In fact, you should assume that if you're turning in something in a Word document, it should be full APA format. I graded your Module 3 pieces the other day, and by and large, they were not in APA format. They should have been. So this is a paper, 1,500 words minimum. At least one of you complained about me setting a maximum. Okay, I won't do that this time. But I'll warn you, if you make my eyes glaze over, it's going to hurt your grade. Good writing, in my mind, is concise writing. Now, the only way to write good, concise writing is to write it long and then edit it down to a shorter piece. But there are 3 sections to this paper. Reflect on the ideas presented in Chapter 1 of Francis Schaeffer's book. So that's one section. You should have a heading in your paper. APA uses headings. So these should be clearly, reflection on Chapter 1. You could call the first one. It's up to you what you call it. But the second section, you should have a heading, reflection on Chapter 2, or whatever you want to call it. And then number 3, you're going to use Schaeffer's 4 standards of judgment, which are a subsection in Chapter 2 of the book. The book only has 2 chapters. And notice it says to read the whole book, including the foreword by Michael Card, which is more recent. Schaeffer's been dead for a while. It's more recent than Schaeffer's original text. And you look at a painting and apply those. And again, I may go get some help on that even from people who are more artistic than I am or know more about art. But use Schaeffer's 4 standards of judgment, and I think I can discern whether you're using his standards of judgment. I just don't know about terms for brushstrokes and all that kind of stuff. Um, and pay attention to the assignment requirements, at least one full paragraph for each of the 4 standards. And use of comments from art historians is acceptable and encouraged. That is, you can go get expertise. Our Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Matt Lovren, is really into art, and his office is right down the hall from mine. I spent a good hunk of the afternoon in a meeting with him today. I may go down there and say, hey, Dr. Lovren, look at the student's analysis of art. Tell me if they've got the idea here. But that's not your problem. Your problem is you need to write the paper. So have a great week. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me. A couple of you have asked questions in discussion boards. I've tried to respond to those. If you really need a response from me, an email is probably the better way to get a hold of me. All right, have a great week. We'll look forward to seeing your work.